All right, we have some more tier lists for you for 2025. We're talking about the rookie wide receivers coming into the NFL draft. Now, this is pre-NFL draft. You know things are going to change once the NFL draft happens, and we have draft capital in places, and we can see the depth charts, yada, yada. So, but as of right now, I have my top 12 tiered out for you guys so you can see who is elite, who is not. Let's just jump right into it. The first guy we have to talk about is Travis Hunter. Now, Travis Hunter's from Colorado, 6 foot, about 188 pounds. He's really one of the biggest wild cards in quite some time, at least that what I can remember, right? As it's just really unclear how he'll split this time between wide receiver and cornerback in the NFL. Will some teams want him to be a cornerback only? Will they want him to be a wide receiver only? Will they let him play both? We don't know, right? Determining what ratio will really drive where he ends up in these fantasy rankings. But if he's mainly a wide receiver, he has elite upside and should be one of the first 3 players off the board in rookie drafts. Granted, he didn't get very, I don't think he got really deep very much, we could say, right? But Hunter caught an absurd and class high 94%, which was 96 of 102 of his catchable targets last season, and 93%, 153 of 164 for his collegiate career. Travis Hunter putting up crazy stats right now. So you have to say, look, if he goes to a team with a quarterback who can deliver the football anywhere around and make it catchable, Travis Hunter could blow up fantasy football. Could be a great prospect for you, especially if you're in a dynasty league. So we're going to stay here in the S tier with another wide receiver. We're saying Ted McMillan out of Arizona, 6'4", really big wide receiver, about 219 pounds. He is one of the biggest wide receivers in this class, and his game has led to many Drake London comps, is what I've seen overall so far. He's handled a massive 34% target share and a class-high 52% air yard share last season. McMillan's elite size and ball skills give him big-time fantasy upside, in my opinion. So depending on where Ted McMillan goes to, he could be the #1 wide receiver out of the gate. He might not have a lot of competition for targets. He should be drafted towards the upper end of the first round. Depending on where he goes to, he could be a fantasy stud starting week 1. I can't wait to see where Ted McMillan ends up going. But let's drop here to the A tier. I think there's only 2 S tier wide receivers, but starting the A tier for me, I have Luther Burden, the wide receiver out of Missouri, about 6 foot, 206 pounds. He's a bit undersized, right? His 8.5-inch hands tied for the smallest in the class, but he's one of the youngest wide receivers in the class as well at 21 years old, and was highly relied on and productive during 3 seasons at Missouri. So he's fast, he has terrific playmaking ability and can line up really all over the formation. He can be a slot guy, he can be on the outside, wherever he needs, he could be there. And I'm telling you, his speed alone can really help him create some type of separation. I like Luther Burden as my #3 wide receiver off the board in the A tier. We're going to stay in the A tier here. Next guy, 4th wide receiver off the board for me, Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, 6 foot, 202 pounds. Whether it's his size, age, 40 time, or really his collegiate usage and efficiency, Egbuka, he falls right in the middle of basically every single category relative to the rest of this wide receiver class. The Ohio State University product was primarily a slot wide receiver. 73% of his plays were in the slot. Short range, 8.6 ADOT target in college, but he was productive, catching 72% of his targets and posting a strong 2.64 yards per route run. Also a rushing and return threat as well, which could give him a little bit of an A+, especially in those leagues who have those points for special teams players. Egbuka has a path to a sizable NFL role, and I can't wait to see which team picks up Egbuka in the NFL draft. So we're staying here in the A tier. Got another guy here. I'm saying Matthew Golden, and boy, did he have a nice combine. The wide receiver out of Texas, 5'11", 191 pounds. Golden impressed at the combine with a 4.2940 with a 1.49 10-yard split. Both best among these wide receivers, right? So he's a bit on the small side. He has a 1.86 yards per route run across 36 collegiate games. It isn't really very good, you could say, but he did make a big leap in 2024, his lone year at Texas. He posted 58 receptions, 987 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. Looking at his film, I think he can be really productive. He can work all over the formation and is a plus for kick return yardage as well. So if you play in those leagues that get you some extra points based off of special teams and kick return yards, Matthew Golden could be pretty good in his rookie season. So let's drop it down to the B tier here. Next guy, 6th overall wide receiver I have off the board, Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, right? 6'2", 205 pounds. He's a tall, fast perimeter wide receiver who's absurd 5.2 0 yards per route run last season was more than a yard higher than any other wide receiver in this class. He has a 3.04 career mark, also topped this class, and he came on a hefty, 1,164 routes across 51 games. He's got the experience, he's got the ability. If he puts it all together, he could be a solid wide receiver, and he could easily be in my A tier right now. I just think I had to slot him in as B as of right now, but he could easily be in one of the A tiers for me. So we're gonna stay in the B tier here. At number 7, I have Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver at Iowa State, 6'4", 214 pounds. He's one of the biggest receivers in the class at 6'4", right? So he's got an 80-inch wingspan as well. He tested well athletically at the combine and has 2.86 career yards per route run, ranked 3rd best in this wide receiver class. So he's handled a big time, target share at Iowa State, and he was a machine at converting catches into first downs. He has the class best rate at 74% in converting these catches into first down. So Jaden Higgins, another big body wide receiver, could easily be an alpha, be an X wide receiver in any offense. I'm curious to see where he goes, and if he goes to a team when a wide receiver needy team, I could see him stepping into the #1 wide receiver role and being one of the top fantasy wide receivers in this rookie class. So excited to see where he ends up breaking. So we're gonna go to the next guy, staying in the B tier, Savion Williams, the wide receiver out of TCU, 6'3", 222 pounds. He's the heaviest wide receiver in this class. Big hands, 10.3 inches, right? And he plays mostly on the perimeter. 82% of his routes was as the X wide receiver on the outside, but he's a short range target, right? As shown by his 6.4 ADOT, or second lowest in this wide receiver class, and 10.2 yards per reception, which was the lowest last season. So in addition to his 87 targets, Williams posted 51 receptions, 322 yards, and 6 touchdown rushing line, right? So in 2024, he ran a strong 4.4840, right? He has the potential to emerge as a multifaceted rusher, receiver, returner type of guy, in the pros. So I like him, and I know a lot of people are saying Jack Beck's there as well. I really like Jack Beck as well, but I have to have Savion Williams. He's more of the freak of nature for me. I had to put him in the B tier. So let's move it down to the C tier here. First guy, number 9 wide receiver overall, Isaiah Bond, the other wide receiver out of Texas, 5'10", 180 pounds. Bond's one of the youngest wide receivers in this class, which is somewhat important considering his limited body of work at Alabama and Texas, right? Bond failed to clear 48 catches, 668 yards, or 5 touchdowns in any of his 3 campaigns. In fact, his 11% target share last season, one of the lowest in this wide receiver class. His efficiency wasn't particularly inspiring as well, 1.74 yards per route run, nor was his size speed combo at the combine, 8.5-inch hands, 4.3940, and at 180 pounds. Bond requires development, but there is still a lot of potential here. Let's move right along here. In the C tier, we just talked about a minute ago, that's Jack Beck, the other wide receiver out of TCU, 6'1", 214 pounds. Beck is a bigger receiver, right, who used sparingly, right, for much of his 3 collegiate seasons prior to busting out with his 62 receptions, 1,034 yards, 9 touchdowns, showing in 2024. He can align all over the formation and figures to do the most damage in the short to intermediate range. Started his career over there at LSU, transferred over to TCU as well. So I think people aren't giving him enough credit, right? He did great, obviously, in the Senior Bowl as well. So I think he can do a lot of great damage for you for fantasy football. Get him into a good situation. He could easily be an A tier wide receiver for me. It just all depends on landing spots, right? So, all right, let's move it down to the D tier here. At number 11 right now, we have Jalen Noel, the other wide receiver out of Iowa State, 5'10", 194 pounds. He has a below average frame, right, with small hands, short arms, but that didn't really stop him from showing well at the combine, where he tied for the highest vertical, 41.5, and posted the longest broad jump at 131. Primarily a short range, 8.0 ADOT slot receiver, which he lined up at 71% of the time. Noah also worked as a kick and punt returner at Iowa State as well, which gives him a little bit of a bonus. But again, all based on landing spot, Jalen Noel can go out there and show, could be a really good 3rd wide receiver. And we've seen in fantasy football, a lot of 3rd wide receivers make some noise. Jalen Noel could do that. We're staying here in the D tier, right? Next guy and last guy on this list at number 12, I'm going Jalen Royals, the wide receiver out of Utah State. Around 6 foot, 205 pounds. He's got an average frame, right? But he moves very well, as shown by a solid 4.42 40, which included a class best 1.49 10-yard split. He's a perimeter wide receiver who primarily works in the short area and lived on hook routes at Utah State. Again, based on where he can go, if he can get a nice accurate quarterback, you can see Jalen Royals go in there as a 3rd option or so in an offense, and I think he can put up some type of fantasy numbers for you that could be productive. So I do like myself some Jalen Royals. But look, that is my top 12 wide receivers as of right now, pre-NFL draft, based and broken down into tiers for you guys. Make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. What do you guys think about my top 12? I'm sure there's gonna be some guys that you think should be in the top 12 over some of these guys. Let me know who you have higher. Let me know who you have lower. Let's have a conversation down below. We're pumping out so many videos at this point. We're trying to help you best set yourself up for success, for ultimately leading yourself to a championship. I can't wait to see you guys on the next video. We'll see you guys next time.